Want to bring in Maverick PAC National Co-Chair Morgan Ortagus and former Massachusetts Senator and Donald Trump supporter Scott Brown. Good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. The amount of money that we're talking about, cash to the Clintons, has simply been, it's being called unprecedented. What's your take on this story? $100 million.
I think that this is actually the most damaging story so far that's hit her. And surprisingly, it's not one that's had as much play as the email scandal or maybe as Benghazi. You know, they've been very effective at hitting her in the primary. Senator Sanders, of course, has been, as it relates to her speeches on Wall Street, pay to play, that sort of thing. This story is much bigger. And if I'm him and I'm still going after her in this primary race and he's showing that he's not getting out, this is where I hit Hillary Clinton. I think it's the biggest story out there.
Senator, I almost feel like this is much bigger than the email investigation, and we haven't even seen the beginning of it. This Clinton Cash movie is debuting this weekend at the Cannes Film Festival, and Peter Schweitzer, who was on the program last week, really connects the dots on all of this as well.
It's the intersection of money and politics. It's been out there forever. The fact that Bernie Sanders is not using it, I'm not sure what he's waiting for.
Yeah.
Had he gone at this earlier, I think he would have been much better off. It's certainly something that Donald Trump will need to bring up, because I agree with Morgan. How do you actually deal with a lot of the folks in that region when you're getting hundreds of millions of dollars?
Well, how come Donald Trump hasn't brought it up?
Well, obviously he's just wrapping up his primary and obviously gathering his team, and I think it will be brought up. That, and obviously the fact that you look at Benghazi, you look at the reset with Russia, you look at Libya, a whole host of things that she did not do or did do that facilitated the unrest in that region and throughout the world.
Dagan McDowell, jump in here. What's your take out on this? Because we're talking about money from these Gulf states to the Clinton Foundation, and it's $100 million.
It's astonishing that this isn't a bigger deal on the campaign trail, quite frankly. And you were mentioning last hour the investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Again, it seems like the email investigation will be wrapped up in short order by the FBI. But watch and wait and see all of the information that comes pouring out about the investigation into the foundation after the election is over with.
After, but even who was speculating on the program recently that they want to wrap up the email investigation in short order, but the details on the foundation is not going to happen until perhaps after the election.
And obviously, Maria, you're right. That's I think a travesty, because if you actually follow the money, and the fact that the Clinton Foundation has not used a substantial amount of money for actual charities, but basically so they and their friends and family can travel around the world lavishly. It's outrageous.
Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Clinton Global Initiative set up a $2 million commitment that went to a nonprofit company which was part owned by people with ties to the Clinton. So,
all the money.
Is this more of the same, or do you think this is actually a whole new revelation?
I think it's part of the same, and I think if you look and follow the money, like as we always see in the course of history, you'll see that there is a quid pro quo. There's a pay-for-play situation going on.
Republican operatives have been whispering about this for a long time, and knowing that this is going to be, maybe potentially a silver bullet going into the election. If this company is being set up a $2 million commitment, how many more companies are there like that out there? I mean, this is why her trust numbers are some of the highest negatively rated trust numbers. I'm surprised that this hasn't been brought up. The bigger surprise to me is that going into a general election, that the Democrat Party only put up her and Bernie Sanders. These stories aren't new. These stories about what the Clinton Foundation has been doing and money they've been accepting, the speeches, this stuff has been around for a while. So they've known her, the Democrat Party has known her very high negatives, her very high vulnerabilities, and they chose to ignore it because they wanted to make history having the first woman president. Well, they're making a really big gamble with her.
Yeah, I just find it, this is a Daily Caller News Foundation investigation revealing that they received at least $100 million from autocratic Persian Gulf states and their leaders, and of course the idea is that it undermines her ability.
Well, and if you look at their position on women's rights and women's issues, and the fact that they're accepting all of this money, it's another hypocritical, I think, stance and position that she takes that, as Morgan said, goes right to her credibility.
And Maria, when you're getting a security clearance in the U.S. government, one of the things that is scrutinized very heavily is any of your ties, your business dealing with foreign governments, foreign business people, foreign entities. The United States government scrutinizes that heavily because they don't want to give a top secret security clearance to anybody who may have undue influence from a foreign nation, from a foreign individual. So if people with top secret security clearances in the U.S. government are held to a standard, I think that we should hold our presidential candidates to the same standard.
Yeah. Let me get your take on what John Boehner said yesterday. Former Speaker John Boehner taking shots at Senator Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton. Senator Boehner said that he would not be surprised if Hillary Clinton ends up withdrawing from the presidential race.
Well, I think that's certainly wishful thinking. I think they will prop her up and do whatever they can to keep her in.
Sure.
To think that there'll be a nominee, Bernie Sanders, is not what the Democratic Party certainly wants, the so-called establishment. If you think people didn't like Ted Cruz, they don't like Bernie Sanders as well in the U.S. Senate. Also, he talked, you know, you're referencing what else he talked about, and he's at the point now where he can actually step back and kind of give a big picture as the old salted, you know, former speaker talking about politics in general, and the fact that he was never a Ted Cruz supporter or even friend or didn't like him any way, shape, or form.
I mean, he called him Lucifer. It doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah, so, he's
okay,
not
so that's
saying
nothing new.
No.
But what does he say about Trump then? I mean, he's come around.
Yeah, listen, as you know, we spoke yesterday, and I spoke to some of my former colleagues in the leadership, and they were very impressed. They said he was confident, he was strong, he listened, he asked questions, he was looking for advice, and he, in fact, turned some heads and turned some minds yesterday, and that was from leadership.
So you felt like that meeting was a turning point?
For the people that I spoke with, certainly that were in the leadership, and in that meeting, he said he was very well prepared, he was confident, he was strong, and he was, you know, listening to them, and that's what they want. They want to make sure that they can play and be part of the process, and that's what he's doing.
What do you think the areas are that they still need to work on?
Well, they're questioning whether he's a strong Second Amendment, whether he's strong on trade,
immigration.
Yeah, and I think what they're going to focus on are the things that they actually agree on, which is keeping the White House, keeping the Senate, making sure that we can focus on our border security, our world position, our military, our veterans. The thing, obviously, our economic issues, trying to get that economy moving again. Those are the things they're going to focus on, and the other things I think they're going to kind of, you know, step back and then figure it out.